Have you ever just stopped and wondered how a company like Google deals with its own, massive data challenges? Well, it really all boils down to a single, really powerful idea. And today, we're going to break that idea down, how to architect a modern data ecosystem on Google Cloud, and we'll reveal the one service that sits at the absolute center of it all.
So let's just start with a problem that I think pretty much everyone in tech gets. You've got application logs streaming in, user transactions coming from your database, maybe even real-time data from IoT devices. It's a flood of information from dozens of places. So the huge question is, how do you take all that chaos and turn it into actual clarity?
All right, so here's how we're going to tackle this. We're literally just going to follow the data on its journey. First, we'll get a handle on GCP's core philosophy. Then, we'll trace the data's path from where it first lands, all raw and messy, through the whole refinement process, and then into the analytics powerhouse, which is BigQuery. And finally, we'll see how it pops up on a dashboard where you can actually use it. And we'll wrap it all up with the 3 key benefits you get from setting things up this way.
This whole seemingly complex process, it can really be boiled down to just 4 key stages: land, refine, analyze, and visualize. I want you to think of it like a factory assembly line, but for insights. We're going to walk through each of these stages, one by one, to see exactly how raw data gets turned into valuable business intelligence.
So what is GCP's secret sauce here? Well, it's a philosophy that's actually super simple but incredibly powerful. Everything, and I mean everything, revolves around BigQuery. It's not just another service in a long list of services. No, it's the sun in their data solar system. Every other tool is designed to either feed data into BigQuery or pull insights out of it. If you get this one thing, everything else we talk about is going to make perfect sense.
Okay, with that BigQuery-centric idea locked in our minds, let's start at the very beginning of our data's journey, the universal landing zone. This is basically the front door, where all data, no matter its shape, size, or speed, first shows up in our ecosystem.
For any data that arrives in chunks, like daily log files from your web servers or a nightly export from some old database, the first stop is almost always cloud storage. And look, this is way more than just a folder in the cloud. It's a massively scalable, super cost-effective data lake. You can literally just dump terabytes of raw, unstructured data here and not even think about the format or schema. It makes it the perfect holding pen to start with.
But what about data that never stops? The stuff that's constantly flowing? For those real-time streams, and I'm talking about every single click on your e-commerce site or a constant feed of sensor data, for that, GCP has PubSub. It's like a global, incredibly reliable post office for data, making sure every single event gets captured the split second it happens.
So, we've landed our data. It's sitting in cloud storage, or flowing through PubSub. But we are not even close to being done. Raw data, let's be honest, is usually a mess. It's full of errors, weird inconsistencies, missing values. It's just not ready for prime time. To make it actually useful for analysis, we need a really powerful transformation engine to clean it, structure it, and enrich it.
Now, GCP's main tool for this job is Dataflow, and the magic word here is serverless. What that means is your team doesn't have to waste time managing or scaling infrastructure. They just define the logic, join this with that, filter out these bad values, and Dataflow just automatically spins up whatever it needs to get the job done, whether you're processing a tiny file or a massive real-time stream. It's pretty amazing. But what if your team has already spent years getting really good at open-source tools like Apache Spark or Hadoop? Well, GCP isn't going to force you to learn something new. For that exact scenario, there's Dataproc. It's basically a managed service that lets you run all those familiar frameworks you already know and love, giving you all the power of open source, but with the convenience of a managed cloud environment.
So the big question, how do you choose between them? Well, it really just comes down to a simple trade-off. If you're building a brand new pipeline from scratch and you just want maximum automation, the serverless, hands-off approach of Dataflow is probably your best bet. But if you're migrating existing Spark jobs, or your team really needs that fine-grained control over the cluster, then Dataproc gives you all that open-source flexibility you're used to.
Okay, so let's recap. We've landed our data, we've used either Dataflow or Dataproc to clean it all up and get it ready. Now, all of these carefully prepared data streams are flowing towards one single destination, the center of gravity for our entire data universe. And that center of gravity is, of course, BigQuery. This is the analytics hub. This is where all of our refined, structured, beautiful data comes to live. If all the previous steps were about getting the ingredients ready, this is where the actual cooking begins.
All roads truly do lead here.
So what is BigQuery, really? It's a completely serverless data warehouse. That means you can run mind-bogglingly complex queries over petabytes of data. That's thousands of terabytes, and get answers back in seconds. And you do all of that without ever once thinking about servers, clusters, or indexes. That's what business agility really means. Your teams get to focus on asking the right questions, not managing infrastructure.
This quote really just hits the nail on the head. The power of the entire Google Cloud Data Platform lies in this BigQuery-centric design. Because once your clean, structured data is sitting in BigQuery, it becomes the undisputed single source of truth for everybody in the company. From data scientists to business analysts, it just completely eliminates those arguments over whose spreadsheet is the right one.
Right, so now we have this pristine, centralized data sitting there in BigQuery. Now we get to the final and frankly the most important step, the payoff. How do we turn all this hard work into actual decisions and real business value? From BigQuery, the value just flows outward in all these different directions. You can hook up BI tools like Looker or Tableau directly to it and build these beautiful, interactive dashboards for your exec team. Your analysts can run ad hoc SQL queries whenever they want to explore some new idea, and your data scientists can use this high-quality, curated data to train really powerful machine learning models. It basically becomes the launchpad for every data-driven thing you want to do.
Okay, we've walked through the whole technical pipeline, from start to finish. But let's just zoom out for a second and ask the big question. Why bother with all of this? What are the fundamental business outcomes that this whole architecture actually gives you? This is the why behind the what. Well, first, you get scalability on demand. Because tools like Dataflow and BigQuery are serverless, the platform just grows with you automatically as your data grows. You don't have to do anything. Second, you get flexibility for any data type. That combo of cloud storage and pub sub means you can handle anything, from giant batch files to nonstop real-time streams. And finally, and this is the most important one, you create a single source of truth in BigQuery. This really is the holy grail of data management. It gets rid of data silos and makes sure that everyone across the entire company is making decisions based on the exact same trusted information.
So there you have it. We've gone from a chaotic flood of raw data all the way to a centralized, trusted hub that powers everything from dashboards to machine learning. We've seen how GCP's BigQuery-centric approach gives you a clear, scalable path to real insights. So now that you have the blueprint, what questions are you finally going to be able to answer?